on the slide in front of you, the rock there, and I'm a geologist, so I always like a few samples in my slides. That is argentiferous galena. So maybe that just means galena that has silver in it, but why it's so spectacular is that galena is usually a cubic mineral. It's so full of silver it turns into feathers, and our advisor and good friend Peter McGaw, who's also a world-famous mineral collector, calls this a museum-quality argentiferous galena. Here's our forward-looking statement. Please take a look at it in your leisure. So I'd like to talk about Jay's theme of undervalued companies. So we've been known for the last several years, as Jay said, for our Water Pump Creek deposit. That is a carbonate replacement deposit, principally silver, zinc, and lead. And that is the smaller box right in the center, again, 75 million ounces at a very high grade of 980 grams silver equivalent, which is the highest in our class. And if anyone hasn't seen what high grade really looks like, I do have a sample. Jay always likes me to bring a prop. So this is an example. It's actually 30 ounces of silver per ton, I think 21% zinc and about 34% lead. So this is what high grade looks like. Come by and pick it up, but don't hit anybody with it. So what I'd like to mention, our story about being undervalued, that the top line there, and I'll see if I can get this to work, right here is the Illinois Creek gold resource. This is actually our going public resource in November of 2021. Since then, it's been eclipsed by the really high grade that I just showed you. So with the increase in gold and silver prices in the last few months, we decided to update that resource and used fairly conservative $3,500 gold and $45 silver. So I'd like to point out now that we have both, most of it is indicated and inferred. So we now have 260,000 ounces of gold in the indicated class, 8.3 million ounces of silver. Add that to another 290 ounces in the inferred of gold and 10.4 million ounces of silver. So this is a 43101 compliant, and now we're also reporting to the SEC. It is a US SK 1300 approved resource, 550,000 ounces of gold, not gold equivalent, almost 19 million ounces of silver. I feel that our company value right now does not reflect anything for this resource. So you can put your own dollars per ounce in the ground. I heard a number a few minutes ago of 200 plus. Some others have been in the 150 range. So it doesn't matter. Either one of those would be great and would show the true value. So again, here we have high grade. The top deposit, Illinois Creek, is an open pit heap leach or agitated vat leach. Very important thing here, this was a fully permitted, fully operational open pit mine in the late 1990s. They just had a difficult time making money when gold was $274 an ounce. Silver was $3. They didn't even have a silver circuit because it wasn't economic to pick it up. This touches very briefly, but I want to point out the scale of our Illinois Creek system. That is on the left. The three maps here are all the same scale. So we have a very large carbonate replacement system. Illinois Creek is in the lower left, that long red area, that's the open pit. And the high-grade Water Pump Creek is in the upper right. The point of this slide is the two most famous and successful carbonate replacement deposits are shown on the right. On the far right is Santulale in Chihuahua. Peter McGaw did his dissertation there. That is about 50 million tons at a little slightly less grade silver equivalent than ours, 800. This was mined for 300 years by the Spanish, produced 1 billion ounces of silver. In the center is Tintic in Utah, currently being explored by Ivanhoe Electric, one of Mr. Friedland's companies. In Cisco, shows the scale there. That is sort of the second most famous, 19 million tons that produced about 500 million ounces of silver. This just shows the scale and what we have, a lot of exploration to go and opportunity between those two resources. This is a slide put together by Michael Gray at Agentis, one of the analysts that follows our company. Michael is really one of the best respected mining analysts in the business. So when he did this about 4 or 5 months ago, the filter here was showing, looking at all the silver companies, which companies have more than 60 million ounces of silver equivalent at a grade of higher than 200 grams per ton silver equivalent cutoff. That eliminates lower, more marginal open pit, low-grade silver deposits. The second one, we are on the far left in black. Please note the grade right here at the 980 grams. It shows we're the highest of this group of 6. The next one over is Wisla, been in the exploration and pre-development stage several years more than us, so they have more tonnage, but their grade is a little bit less. Kitsault is in the far right. That's Dolly Varden. That's currently being acquired by Contango, so when that is completed, this list will go down to 5. And a couple of these are in Mexico, others in the US and in Canada, so I would want to point out one of our great attributes is jurisdiction. We're in Alaska. That is one of the best mining areas in the country. From a valuation standpoint, take a look at this slide in your leisure. The second line going across, it's hard to read here. That would be these numbers, right? That is the price per value per ounce of silver in the resource. We're at about 90 cents. The other companies range between $3 and $4. So that shows we have a lot of upside once the value is recognized. We do have a number of critical minerals. Gallium is number 1 on the list. It is contained within the sphalerite, which is our zinc mineral. We have, assays on this. It shows that we do have gallium and it can be extracted. Gallium's number 1 because it's critical for what's called the active radar display, and that's what makes the F-35 fighter, gives it its air superiority. So price is no object to the Department of Defense here. Capital structure. We have recently simplified our capital structure as of coming up March 9th. We will have gone away from a 2-class system, and that was really only to satisfy the SEC when we went public in Canada 5 years ago. So the number to use now is that top one, 88 million shares. And at the end of, in June, our next annual meeting, those will all be renamed to be ordinary shares. So a very simple, clean share structure. Today's price is right around $1, so that gives us about 88 million Canadian as a value. I'd like to point out some of our institutional shareholders. Crescott Capital, Quentin Henney's group out of Denver is our largest with about 17% My wife Jonah and I founded the company in 2010. We still have about 13%, and others insiders make up a total of about 18.8. So strong insider ownership. Do want to point out right here, in October, after 8 months of work, we became fully reporting to the SEC. We had a very successful financing of $13.8 million US, and that was led by one of the premier investment banks in New York, Cantor Fitzgerald. So we went through a lot of due diligence, but we're very proud to have such a quality company with us. Running out of time, so I'll just go briefly through here. Our Chief Exploration Officer, Joe Piekenbrock, was head of VP of Exploration for Nova Gold and took the Donlin project to its currently 39 million ounces. I'll show you where that is in a minute. Peter McGaw, I mentioned before. Pat Donnelly is our Executive VP of Corporate Capital Markets, and Pat is with us today, so please come by the booth and say hello to him. So quickly, Alaska advantages. I won't name all the projects here, but there's 6 major operating mines in Alaska, led by Red Dog in the upper left corner. That's operated by Teck. Red Dog is the world's largest zinc producer. So you can have a world's largest mine in Alaska. Pogo and Red Dog are near Fairbanks. Those are both very successful gold deposits. One is underground, 250,000 ounces a year, mined by Northern Star out of Perth, and they are now the largest Australian gold producer, partly because of production from Pogo. So Alaska jurisdiction is very good, straightforward permitting. We have 5-year exploration permits, very clear state mining rights. All of our claims are on the state of Alaska land. We have no federal nexus when it comes to our claims. We have not met with a federal agency in 25 years of running this project. And very importantly, we're very close to the Yukon River, which we'll show here. The little red line, that is the was a all a winter access route that was used when Illinois Creek was in production. Haul trucks were taken out that way. We have completed 3 years of civil engineering to make that an all-weather road, and that's one of the highlights that we hope to achieve this year. We'll be filing a permit with the state and with the Corps of Engineers for 2 water crossings, and that would be very exciting. I do want to point out one of our new discoveries that is right here. Silver Sage, I'll touch on it real briefly, but that is a brand new discovery last year that we think will be an equivalent to another water pump creek. We have some great infrastructure on site. Our camp is shown in the lower right, our 4,400-foot runway. Upper left, when we need to bring in a new drill rig or trucks, we use a C-130 Hercules, the most cost-efficient cargo plane in the world, and some of our drilling is shown on the left there. Won't touch on this because we're running out of time, but it just shows that we have actually 2 carbonate replacement systems. Illinois Creek that we're working on now, but not to be forgotten, we have a porphyry copper round top in the upper right, intruding the same carbonate stratigraphy. We've drilled that. We know it has lead, zinc, silver mineralization. We hope to add that to the portfolio in the coming years with additional exploration. This is our very high-grade water pump creek resource shown in red. Would like to point out in the upper left, the mustard color, that is the original discovery by Anaconda Copper Company back in the 1980s. And that is not included on our resource yet. It's oxide. We're still working on metallurgy. The other important point here is the right-hand side, Water Pump Creek South. That'll be our target coming up. We're fully funded for a minimum 6,000 meter drill program, and we'll be starting around June 1st. So Silver Sage is just a brand new discovery. It just mentioned that it's done by grassroots and boots on the ground geology, trenching this last summer. Picked up some very, very high-grade argentiferous galena. We have a sample at the booth. Please come by and look at that, and this will probably will dedicate about a half of our drilling this year to Silver Sage. That's an example of what came out of the trenches, samples that have over a kilo per ton of silver and about 60% lead, so that's basically massive argentiferous galena. That's only about 2 meters below the surface. We have a very strong program working with the local Alaska villages in our area. We really believe in a strong social license. We've had a local hire program since 2017. We meet with the 3 village tribal leaders every year, and we also bring them out to our camp on site to see what we're doing, shown there in the lower left, and to see their friends and neighbors who are getting excellent job training, learning new skills. We're very small hiring, but we are the largest local employer in this part of Alaska. It shows very, very underemployed. So why invest? We have a great exploration team. Joe Pekenbrock, Sage Langston Stewart, our principal geologist. We have a lot of experience there. I mentioned the clean capital structure, jurisdiction in Alaska, our clean title, and we're looking at trying to add some economics to our 2 deposits. We're currently doing some pre-engineering there. So very high grade, past producing assets. I'll finish with this. Illinois Creek was a past producing mine. It closed, as I said, due to difficulty making money when gold was $270 an ounce. Went into Chapter 7 bankruptcy. It was still producing gold. The judge said no more gold sales until we settle with the creditors. They had to stack it up in the gold room at Illinois Creek. They produced about 150,000 ounces of gold, 600,000 ounces of silver. They borrowed $60 million from the Rothschild. That gold in 1997 was worth $48 million. Didn't pay the loan off. Today, that is over depending on the price today, over $550 million. So timing is everything, and we think this is the time to take a close look at Alaska Silver. We have some great assets. So thank you.